Rassie Erasmus just admitted something that most coaches would never say out loud. During a championship deciding contest, Canan Moodie made a split-second decision that should have resulted in a red card. The referee saw it. The TMO reviewed it from every angle, and somehow, Moodie stayed on the field. Now the Springbok coach has broken his silence, and his confession reveals a truth that makes people uncomfortable. This is the story of a deliberate knockdown, a refereeing decision that defied explanation, and a coach who admitted his team got away with one. Championship contests are where legends are made or broken. One moment can define an entire season. One decision can determine whether a team lifts a trophy or watches someone else celebrate. And when that moment involves a controversial call, the debate never ends. People remember it, they argue about it. They use it as proof for whatever point they want to make about the state of modern rugby. The Springboks have been involved in plenty of these moments throughout their history. Sometimes the calls go their way, sometimes they don't. But what makes this particular incident so fascinating is that Rassie Erasmus, the man who never shies away from speaking his mind, actually admitted that fortune played a role. And in doing so, he opened up a conversation that goes far beyond one match or one decision. Let's talk about what happened. The Springboks were locked in a brutal contest against Argentina, the kind of match where every point matters and every mistake gets punished. The pressure was suffocating. Argentina had built momentum. They were attacking with precision, finding gaps, and the Springbok defense was being stretched in ways that would break most teams. Then came the moment that changed everything. An Argentine back received possession in dangerous territory with the try line beckoning. The pass was released, floating through the air, toward a support runner who had acres of space ahead of him. If that ball reached its target, it was a certain try, the kind of score that shifts momentum completely. The referee signaled a penalty. The TMO called for a review. Everyone watching knew this was significant. The replay showed it with crystal clarity, a deliberate knockdown that prevented a probable try. Under World Rugby's laws, this kind of professional infringement typically results in a yellow card at minimum. Depending on interpretation, it can even warrant a straight red. And then the decision came through. Penalty on. Neutral observers were stunned into silence. How does a deliberate knockdown that prevents a certain try not result in at least a temporary removal from play? What interpretation of the laws allows that player to continue without punishment beyond a penalty? The contest continued. South Africa held on to claim victory by the narrowest of margins, securing the championship in the process. The trophy was lifted. The celebrations began. But the controversy didn't fade with the final whistle. The head coach of the reigning champions just admitted that a crucial decision went in their favor when it probably shouldn't have. He didn't spin it with clever language. He didn't make excuses or justify the outcome. He didn't claim the referee made the correct call. He simply acknowledged reality. They were fortunate. This is what separates Rassie from virtually every other coach in World Rugby. Most would never make that admission publicly. They'd talk about respecting the referee's authority, about how you can't control those decisions, about how the focus should remain on what the team executed well. They'd hide behind diplomatic language and carefully constructed statements designed to avoid any hint of controversy or criticism. But Rassie doesn't operate that way. He understands that credibility is built through honesty, not through pretending everything was perfectly fair. By admitting his team benefited from a questionable call, he actually strengthens his position for future discussions. When he does raise concerns about refereeing decisions that go against South Africa, people take him more seriously, because they know he's willing to acknowledge when things break his way too. But the admission didn't stop there. Rassie expanded his explanation, providing context that people often miss when they're fixated on individual controversial moments. Rugby is played by humans, refereed by humans, and reviewed by humans, he explained. Mistakes happen. That's the nature of the game. This perspective is absolutely crucial to understanding championship-level sport. Elite teams don't just win because they execute flawlessly in every moment. They also need elements of fortune. They need calls to break favorably at critical junctures. They need the opposition to make errors at pivotal times. That doesn't diminish what they've achieved. It's simply the reality of competition at the highest level. Now let's examine what Rassie did next, because this is where his man management genius becomes apparent. While he admitted the decision was fortunate for South Africa, he also defended Moodie's instincts in that crucial moment. He made a split-second decision to try and prevent a try. Rassie explained, "This is masterful leadership in action." Rassie acknowledged the mistake without destroying the player's confidence publicly. He praised the competitive intent while recognizing the execution violated the laws. Moodie absorbs the lesson without losing belief in himself. The team observes that honesty is valued highly, but so is commitment and effort. And the broader rugby world sees a coach who refuses to sacrifice his players even when admitting they benefited from fortune. But this incident raises deeply uncomfortable questions about refereeing consistency that extend far beyond any single contest. If Moodie's deliberate knockdown was deemed worthy of only a penalty, why have virtually identical incidents in other matches resulted in yellow or red cards? The answer is difficult for anyone to accept. Interpretation varies wildly depending on the referee, the TMO on duty, and sometimes even the context or importance of the match itself. This subjectivity represents one of rugby's most persistent ongoing challenges. Unlike sports with more objective rules and clearer boundaries, rugby operates in constant shades of grey. High tackles, dangerous play, deliberate infringements, and cynical penalties all require human judgment calls. And when championships are decided by margins of just a few points, those judgment calls carry enormous consequences for everyone involved. Rassie has been vocal about refereeing inconsistencies for years. That's impossible with human officials making real-time decisions in a fast, physical, complex sport, which referee happens to be in charge, or which teams are competing. When one deliberate knockdown results in a red card while another results in just a penalty, something is fundamentally broken in the system. Rassie isn't advocating for this consistency just because it would benefit South Africa specifically. He's pushing for it because the sport deserves better. Because players deserve to understand how their actions will be judged. Because coaches deserve to prepare their teams with clear understanding of how laws will be applied. And because supporters deserve to watch contests where the outcome is determined by performance and skill, not by which referee happened to be assigned that particular day. So what's the real lesson from all this? Is it that the Springboks benefited from the questionable call? Yes, Rassie has admitted exactly that. Is it that refereeing needs significant improvement? Absolutely. But the deeper truth is about what actually separates championship teams from everyone else competing at elite level. Rassie's admission becomes truly powerful from a leadership perspective. By acknowledging the fortune while also highlighting the team's overall performance across multiple areas, he provides complete, honest context. Yes, they caught a break with that decision, but they also dominated in other phases. They also demonstrated championship character under extreme pressure. They also proved they could win when the stakes couldn't be higher. This honesty builds credibility that defensive spin or denial never could establish. When Rassie raises concerns about future decisions that go against South Africa, people remember that he was willing to admit when things went his way. That makes his complaints more legitimate and credible, not less. It demonstrates he's interested in genuine fairness and consistency across the board, not just in protecting his team from criticism. The incident also reveals something significant about modern rugby culture. We've become so obsessed with clean narratives and simple storylines that we've lost sight of the messy, complicated reality of competitive sport. Teams need extraordinary skill and tactical intelligence and mental toughness, but they also need fortune. They need calls to break favorably. They need opposition errors at crucial moments. Every champion in every sport throughout history has benefited from these elements at some point. Admitting that reality doesn't weaken the achievement. It humanizes it. It makes it authentic and real. The Springboks aren't mythical beings who never make mistakes or never benefit from controversial calls. They're exceptional athletes and competitors playing a complex sport where hundreds of variables determine outcomes. Sometimes those variables align in your favor, sometimes they don't. Rassie Erasmus understands this better than perhaps any coach currently working in world rugby. He doesn't deal in fantasy narratives about flawless performances and purely deserved victories. He deals in reality, the messy, complicated, sometimes frustrating reality where even great teams need moments of fortune to become champions. The broader lesson extends beyond just this one incident. It's about how we evaluate success, how we judge performance, and how we understand what it actually takes to win at the highest level. Perfect execution is a myth. Every championship team makes mistakes. Every title run includes fortunate moments. The difference is whether you have the quality and character to capitalize when those moments arrive. South Africa has built that quality and character systematically. Their player development produces depth that other nations envy. Their coaching creates adaptability that allows them to win in multiple different ways. Their culture breeds mental toughness that doesn't crack under pressure. But even with all those advantages carefully constructed over time, they still needed one controversial decision to go their way. That's not a flaw in their system, that's just honest reality. So yes, Canan Moodie probably should have received at least a yellow card based on how similar incidents have been judged. Yes, South Africa benefited from a decision that could easily have gone the other way and changed the entire outcome. And yes, Rassie has admitted all of this without hesitation, excuse or defensive spin. But the real story isn't about one controversial moment in one high-stakes contest. It's about a coach who has the courage and confidence to tell uncomfortable truths, and a team that has the quality to win even when not everything breaks perfectly in their favor. That's what championship teams do. They execute brilliantly when conditions allow. They grind out results when they must. And occasionally, they benefit from fortune when they need it most. That's not robbery. That's not cheating. That's simply the reality of sport at the absolute highest level. And Rassie Erasmus is one of the very few people honest enough to say it out loud.